Gonna be a lot of people out there saying, "Hey, don't you guys like change your shirts or outfits for shows?" Because if you watch the beginning of the show we dropped on Tuesday, we look the same as we do on Thursday's cold open moments here. That's because, as you might know, we had to do a new wraparound for that Tuesday show because we want to tell you about today's show, which was Coach Blumenauer coming up, Coach Raby coming up, and a lot of people that aren't from upstate New York might have otherwise tuned out this show when you think about it, JB. But now that Region 2 has really become a hotbed after Cortland wins the national championship a couple of seasons ago, I'm beginning to think that, people across the country are going to tune into this one. And hopefully in the comments, folks will let us know they're out there still watching this show and, watching these coach interviews. What's your thought here? Region 2 here to stay, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you have a national championship in 23. You have two national semifinalists in 24, one game which was pretty close. So I think Region 2 is ratcheting it up a little bit. We're seeing conferences like the PAC get stronger. We've seen, the traditional, Liberty League, Centennial, Empire 8 champions do well. So, yeah, I think it's the expanse of D3 football isn't just Region 5 and 6 anymore, and I think that the Region 2 teams are figuring out, hey, we got to play these guys a certain way, or they're trying to ratchet things up, and it's going to get more competitive. And now with a 40-team field in the playoffs, we might see some more interesting matchups if the NCAA actually schedules them correctly. But, we'll see what happens in 25.
See prior show for more discussion about that. However, let me kind of preview here this show in the cold open. We've got a private college guy going to a state university. We've got a state university guy going to a private college as head coach. That's a very divergent scenario, and I'm curious, and we're going to ask about it in these interviews, how it all works. So let's jump right to it. We got some great long interviews. Usually that's what happens with coaches. We go a little bit more long-winded with them. But folks, you're watching still season 17 of In the Huddle. JB, let's cut to the chase. As you kind of suggested, Tom Blumenauer, the new head coach of Cortland, will be joining us first, and then he's leaving Franklin Marshall, I should say, and Ed Raby, who's leaving SUNY Morrisville, which the last Morrisville coach went to Cortland to coach, remember, but he's at Colgate now, that Fitzpatrick guy. Yeah, but Ed Raby is going to St. John Fisher, which is a prestigious job after what Coach Paul Vosburgh had done over there. All kidding aside about things here, it does change the landscape a lot. It's showing the youth movement in upstate New York coaching to a certain degree. John Drock at Union was part of that. Kevin DeWall is coming like the dean of coaches suddenly in upstate New York, it feels like, in terms of, the number of years he's been around. It's almost unheard of. Dan Puckhaber in St. Lawrence, same thing. It's becoming an interesting industry. We talked a little bit about it on our last show, but I mean, what do you think here? The youth movement in Region 2, is that part of the story, do you think, that might be causing some of the turnaround for this region?
Yeah, I think so. And we saw it a couple of years ago when Coach Torper came over to take over at Ithaca. So, I mean, yeah, I think we're definitely seeing this more millennial generation, I guess, of guys that have come up playing D3 football, that worked their way up the ranks and are now getting head coaching opportunities in their 30s. Some in their early 40s, I guess. But yeah, it definitely feels like there's a bit of a sea change. There have been some retirements. Like Coach Vosburgh had been the only coach in St. John Fisher history for 30 plus years. And, those kinds of runs you don't see as much anymore. You typically see guys stay at a place for maybe 5 seasons, 6 years, and they move on. I think even now at the Division III level, we see a lot of guys that are looking to kind of keep moving their way up. I think of Dan Mulroney of, used to be at Anna Maria, then he went to Division II, and now he's the defensive coordinator at Brown. So he's working his way up the ranks. I think we have a lot more guys that are sort of, career path like that. But hey, we're seeing some great football, which as a fan is really what it's all about, and makes the Saturdays that much more enjoyable. So I'm excited about seeing what these two guys do with these respective programs and all these new coaches as they take over in 25.
Well, let's talk to them. First up here is the new Cortland head coach, Tom Blumenauer. Coach, thanks for joining us, and congratulations to start things here. A lot of people are wondering, why leave a private school for a public school per se, a state school as a head coach? You were doing great work at Franklin and Marshall, but then you go over to Cortland. Why? A lot of people would love to know.
Yeah, no, that's a question I've been answering quite a bit, and to be honest with you, I absolutely loved every minute of my time at Franklin and Marshall. It's a special place for a million reasons, and I was not actively looking to move on. I was enjoying the opportunities and challenges that we were taking on, and but the best job in the country opened up, as far as I'm concerned, and I wanted in, and SUNY Cortland's a program that's proven they could win at the national level, and that's exciting. Just a competitor and me wanted in, and if my history too is I attended school in upstate New York at Ithaca College, and I know Cortland. I know Cortland very well, and I don't think there's a institution in the country offering student athletes a better platform to attack their passions academically and athletically. So F&M's special, and it'll remain special. I'm going to miss a lot of people dearly, but boy, am I fired up for this challenge.
Yeah, I bet you are, Coach, and it feels like it's a little bit of a homecoming for you, being an upstate guy. And I'm curious, and I apologize if this sounds a little too direct. It's not like we do this on this show anyway, but you go from working at NESCAC schools into Centennial schools where you really you're coaching future investment bankers, lawyers, corporate raiders, all this stuff. Whereas at a place like Cortland, these are more community-based guys. Their dads are more likely to drive F-150s than Audis. It's just a different mindset. They're not going off to go on a ski vacation to Aspen during breaks and all this kind of stuff. It's more of a blue-collar, lunch pail kind of environment. So from your experience, how do you kind of make that pivot where you were recruiting to this sort of NESCAC Ivy League type of kid to somebody that could end up being a football coach, a teacher, someone who's going to just do great things in their community?
Yeah, no, JB, I think you're spot on with that question, and my dad drove an F-150. My dad drove an F-150. He was a landscaper for a long time, and I think my background is in education. I was a physical education major. I was a high school phys ed teacher, health teacher, and coach. When I first graduated, and so for me, it's exciting to get back to that. And I think my coaching experiences, at Ithaca as a young coach, teaching in the school district of Philadelphia, and then working in the NESCAC and the Centennial and at a few other conferences. I think it's just given me a ton of range, and I've worked with student athletes from every background you can imagine. And I grew up in a big town on Long Island called Brentwood, right in the middle of Long Island, where really diverse town. At one point, I think it was the largest public high school in New York State. So, I'm a believer, the more diverse a place is, the more dynamic it is. And, you celebrate individual differences, and, you could, bring a group of young people together, and you'll get them to buy into the notion that they're involved with something bigger than themselves. And, you get in full alignment, and you attack each and every goal you have. So, I think I'm going to do really well, coaching the SUNY Cortland athletes. And, I think it's exciting, right? It's SUNY Cortland's it's a institution that teaches teachers, people who are going to be, to your point, they're going to be impact people in their communities. And, whether it's in the school setting or doing something else, right? Some of the academic programmings at Cortland, education, sport management, exercise science, there's some of the best programs in the entire nation. So we're dealing with, some special students who are, at SUNY Cortland, because it's a great fit for them in their future. So I'm excited to be a part of, meaningful part of their 4 years and beyond. And, hopefully we're winning football games and championships, but, I'm just as invested in helping them reach every goal they have, on the back end as well.
In the Huddle now, presented by 4 trucks, apparently. All this F-150 talk. We got a new sponsorship, I think, coming here, guys. But, Coach, you've teased it a little bit, and I know you've had to answer this question a little bit over the last couple weeks, especially. Ithaca. So you're an Ithaca guy. You played at Ithaca. You coached a little bit at Ithaca, and now you go to Cortland. I mean, you're a walking advertisement for the Cortica Jug when it gets down to this. But you were kind of teasing that the best job in the country is Cortland. Mike Terper's over there at Ithaca saying, "Wait a minute, you're an Ithaca guy. How can you say that?" But I mean, what is your relationship now? How much, let's say, joking around have you taken from your colleagues back in the day saying, "Wait a minute, turncoat, what's going on here?"
No, that's we're having fun with it. We're having fun with it, and I have I'm sure just like you guys, with your Union classmates and Hobart classmates, I have a group message with about a dozen of my former teammates, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. And they say, hey, now Cortica's a win-win for them, right? Because either Ithaca's winning or their buddy's winning. Hopefully it's their buddy winning a ton. So no, it's I think when you're in the profession, I think your perspective on a lot of those things change, right? I've been I have a ton of respect for Coach Terper, and as an Ithaca alum, I'm real proud of the work he's done over the years. His time at Ithaca, he's been doing a great job. And we actually, my time at Franklin and Marshall, we would duke it out with Ithaca quite a bit on some of our top recruits. And I know those guys are working really hard, and they're doing a nice job. So I'm excited for the challenge. And I've coached in New England, I've coached in the Mid-Atlantic, and I've been a part of different rivalries, right? The CBB, the battle for the Conestoga Wagon, the battle for the Lincoln Trophy, and they're all special, and they mean those games mean a lot to a lot of people for a lot of great reasons. But I think every single step of the way, I grew a deeper appreciation for the Cortica Jug, because it is different. It is different. 40,000+ in attendance, on more than one occasion. So as I enjoyed these other rivalry games, a small part of me always wanted back in to the Cortica Jug, and to kind of leave my working with a lot of great coaches and student athletes, and hopefully leaving my mark on what I think is the best rivalry in college football at any level.
Well, absolutely, and maybe if you can pull some strings, you can get another game at Giants Stadium, or maybe at Yankees Stadium. I know that they've started hosting some college games. I know Fenway is going to be the location for the Secretary's Cup this season. But speaking of this season, Coach, I'm having flashbacks to a couple years ago when we interviewed Coach Bierman when he went over to John Carroll, and it's like, hey, welcome to the fold. First game right out of the gate, you're against Whitewater. You've got an opening game against Grove City, one of the top 10 teams in the country, right out of your first game as a new head coach. I mean, obviously this was booked a while back, but tell us a little bit about how you guys can really get focused around your program kicking off with a really huge matchup in week one, even though it's several months down the road.
Yeah, no, I think it's exciting, and obviously, for me, moving up north from Pennsylvania, I have a great, pretty good understanding of Grove City and what they bring to the table. It's a great program that's had a ton of success. They went toe to toe with the Centennial Conference champion, Hopkins, who I'm real familiar with in the first round this past season. And I actually watched every second of Cortland's great matchup against Grove City 2 years ago, during the national championship run. And I know that game came down to last second field goal attempt, and so I know I have a great deal of respect for Grove City, but I think what a great motivator for our SUNY Cortland football student athletes, right? Hey, you lose a coach of Curt Fitzpatrick's caliber, and an all-time great quarterback in Zach Boys, 35 plus seniors, 3 of which were All-Americans, I believe. There's no time to kind of sit around and wonder what's next, or you feel sorry for yourself. You got to go to work because to your point, JB, week one, what a tremendous challenge, and it's exciting, and I think it's going to be a great motivator for us all spring ball. So it's and all summer as well.
Yeah, but he left you Naz, Gene Lubin, and some other great players, some good youth over there. So at least he's left you some players of great caliber.
Plenty. Yeah, plenty. No, Coach Fitzpatrick's done an amazing job as staff, and just know the personnel. It's talented. There's depth across the board. So they've been doing a great job, and even the coaches during the transition. Right, it would have been easy to kind of sit around and wait, but the staff that was in place during the transition, all they did was work their tails off, and we're wrapping up as I'm getting started. We're wrapping up another great recruiting class. And obviously when you win a national championship, it becomes a destination for a lot of prospective student athletes, and we're going to continue to capitalize on that through great organization, and you're having a great plan and then working that plan.
So last week while I was still in Florida, kind of in the end of my vacation mode, I got a call around 8:30 in the morning from Mark Raymond, head coach at Williams now, and he said, "Frank, you and JB, you got to show my guy Tom some love." And, half asleep still I was. So I'm like, "Tom who?" And he's like, "Bloom, come on." I was like, "Oh, Coach, we're going to be interviewing him." He's like, "You better be, because he's a great guy."
That's right.
I mean, you have, been in his footsteps in many different ways. He is, somebody that we look up to, not just because of his bench press skills over the years, but thanks to a lot of other reasons. He's always been great as a friend of ours here in the show. But, talk about your relationship with him, what you learned from him, starting at Ithaca, basically, and kind of moving from there around with him to a certain degree.
Yeah, Mark Raymond, Coach Ray, he's probably my, he's one of my favorite people in the entire world. He was the reason I, dating back almost 20 years ago now, he was the reason I transferred to Ithaca College, and he's the getting coached by him. He was my position coach. He was the coordinator for the teams I played on, and I said, man, I want to be like this guy, and I knew pretty early on, after spending some time with him, that I wanted to be a college football coach, and I wanted to do it like him. You work hard, you work tirelessly to win football games and win championships, but you want to do it the right way, and you're interested in making young people better, and that's what he did for me, and that's what that's what I've committed to doing for the entirety of my career. I've been lucky, again, I've known him for for 20 years, and I spent 2 of those years playing for him, 10 of those years working for him, and just I don't, in my opinion, he's the best in the business, and I think that the job he did at St. Lawrence, from 2010 through 2015, I think that was one of the best, coaching jobs that Division III football's ever seen, to bring that caliber of football to the North Country through a ton of hard work and getting the right group of people together, and and never letting up. He's a special guy. And then up at over at Williams, the 0-9 to 9-0 turnaround, and again doing it his way, the right way. And he was a coach, mentor, and now I look at him as a best friend. So he's someone that we talk, if not every day, probably 4 or 5 times a week, and whether we're sharing game plan ideas or motivational tactics, or just calling to see how we're doing. So he's a special guy. I know he loves spending time with the two of you, and Coach Ray's my again one of my favorites. And I've had a ton of great mentors like Mike Welch and JB Wells, and guys who have had profound impacts on me and my development. So I'm grateful to all those guys, and for a lot of reasons. I'm still dreading the phone call with Coach Welch. He's been trying to hunt me down, but he's a special man, and his son's one of my best friends. We were in each other's weddings, and I typically get to see Coach Welch around the 4th of July holiday. So we'll have a lot to talk about this year.
Going back to Coach Ray for a second, just a quick anecdote. I want to, and JB, I'll get you the next question, but I was on the sideline for the Trinity Williams game at Trinity this year, and we were in talking to him last week. I didn't think he, realized I was there. And the funniest thing is, I was standing right next to him on the sideline. Coach Raymond is so into that football game. It's this to hell with what's over here on the sideline. Yep. He's like, I thought you were there, but I was like, Coach, you're coaching a football game. You do what you do. Don't worry about us there. But that's Coach Raymond in a nutshell. He gets hyper focused in that way, and I'm sure he taught you the same type of attitude and focus in his years with you. JB's got the next question.
Yeah, I wanted to get your perspective, Coach, having worked in the NESCAC and worked with guys like Coach Ray at Williams and all that. I mean, we in a show that's going to precede this one, we talked to 3 guys who are trying to help get the NESCAC football champion and maybe even runner-up into the NCAA playoffs. I mean, sometimes I joke around with be careful what you ask for to the rest of Division III, because if this conference gets involved, I know they might think that, they only have 75-man rosters and this and that, but the level of football is really good, and if they do get into the playoffs this fall, it's going to have an impact one way or another. But as a former coach from this conference, tell us a little bit about what it would mean for these NESCAC guys to get this opportunity and how they would do on a national stage.
Yeah, no, I personally, I think it's long overdue. And I was fortunate enough to be on staff for the 2021 undefeated Williams team, and finishing 9-0, and and then saying, all right, that's it, guys. Great job, and just the what ifs that kind of lingered for a long time. You obviously celebrate the great accomplishments, but I know those student athletes want in, and JB, to your point, it's a great league. It's a great league, and you're recruiting a ton of fringe Ivy League players, fringe Patriot League players. So you're bringing in a high level Division III football player. But then the challenge is to develop them. So I do think if the NESCAC, if the presidents and the decision makers decide to move forward with, the playoff participation, I think it's a great thing. I think they're going to have to look at their year-round calendar and, getting their spring practice opportunities on par with everyone else, because, I do think that could be what maybe would catch up with them. Is, I did think at times in that league, maybe the development, 2, 3, 4 years later, isn't kind of where it is outside, where you get to, in the outside conferences where you get to spend some more time with your football student athletes. So, but I do think it'd be great. I think it'd be great for a lot of reasons, and I think they'd be competitive. And like anything else, do you have a great quarterback that year? You're going to be as good as your quarterback and your ability to stop the run and the cold weather months. But I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great for a lot of reasons.
Coach, we could talk to you all day. We appreciate your time, but I'm going to give you one opportunity here to send a message out there to both the Franklin and Marshall family and to the Cortland family at this point. Obviously, Coach Phelan's going to do a great job at Franklin and Marshall for them. But at the same time, some folks are sad to see you go. So the floor is yours to send messages to both fan bases out there, and go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm so happy for Coach Phelan. I think Franklin and Marshall made the right decision. I think keeping a coach of his caliber and a person of his caliber, in the program and now leading the way, I think that's a win for the F&M football student athletes. I'm going to miss them dearly. Like I said, F&M is it's a special place. It's a special place with rich traditions and an alumni base that's invested and cares so much. So I thank Franklin and Marshall for my time there. I'm going to cherish it for the rest of my life. And to the SUNY Cortland family, I just want everyone to know I'm the happiest man in the world. My family's thrilled. It's an opportunity for me and my wife to get closer to family too. I met my wife in Upstate New York. And we're thrilled to get closer, a lot closer to a lot of family. So, Coach Fitzpatrick and his staff did amazing work. 45-5, and I don't know Coach Fitzpatrick personally. We have a lot of mutual friends, but he's been so generous with his time early on. He's one of the very first people I got a text message from. He tracked my number down while I was trying to track his number down, so he kind of beat me to the punch. And we spent an hour on the phone last week, and just the insight that he's given to me, just on the program and the community, and I'm grateful for how generous he's been. And I told the football student athletes at Cortland, hey, Coach Fitz is still incredibly invested in your success and in the future of the program. So don't think otherwise for a single second. But I'm going to give SUNY Cortland everything I have. I'm going to work incredibly hard I'm grateful to athletic director Mike Ertz, for giving me this opportunity, and I'm going to prove him right. I'm going to empty the tank, and I'm going to take a tremendous amount of pride in getting to know every student athlete and who they are, where they're from, what makes them tick, and how I could help them max out their time at SUNY Cortland and beyond. So fired up for the challenges, and definitely my official start date's tomorrow, so I'm still 2 days from now actually. Right. So I'm still in transition mode, and I was down here in Pennsylvania meeting with a realtor, getting my taxes done. So fired up to be up there kind of full go as of Thursday, and so excited for the opportunities and challenges ahead.
Coach Fitz reminds me of Lance Leipold in terms of leaving Whitewater. He became still a friend of D3 even when he was at Buffalo and still at Kansas. We still reach out and talk to him on occasion. He's always interested to see what's going on in Division III and Whitewater and everything else. Fitz is the same way. From the conversations we've had with him since, he's always going to be somebody that's a cheerleader for both Cortland and Division III generally, and he's got a very good successor for sure, Coach. And we wish you nothing but the best of luck. I'm sure I will see you down the road as I pop into several Cortland games, and I'll get to know you a little bit better through that process as well. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you both so much, and go Dragons.
And again, thanks to Coach Blumenauer for joining us and giving us some great time and insights, I would say, about a number of different topics. It will be interesting to see how the first Cortica Jug game treats him with his dual ties there. I feel like I need to go to Fenway for the game, Secretary's Cup game out there that you alluded to in that interview. But at the same time, to be a fly on the wall, maybe you should fly up for a Cortica Jug game this calendar year and watch it for yourself in that situation, or vice versa. Who knows what'll happen? But best of luck to him. I mean, let me ask you, what Curt Fitzpatrick leaves him, we did make light of some of it in there about what he loses, but what he still has player-wise. And it's, February when he gets named head coach, so obviously he doesn't get the full recruiting experience this year, but it sounds like they were still working on things there. I mean, do you expect a drop-off here with what they're losing and, even with the coaching transition situation?
Well, that's a tricky question because I don't know if there's another guy like Zach Boyes on that roster, and he's, he might be like, D3 Hall of Fame caliber type of stuff here. And, with some of the receivers, Lapp and Burgess. I mean, they got Diablo coming back, so he'll be returning off of the knee injury, which we missed him last season. But defensively they lose some starters. But this is with these kinds of programs, and you see it on Twitter this past week, like North Central sort of pounding their chest a little bit. Look at all our transfers. We got these guys coming in from here and here and here. Cortland's got the same thing, but more on the East Coast because they won the national title in November of 23. It's not that long ago, and that shine does stick around for a while. They did drop out of the playoffs a little early this year, but I'm sure that there's still a lot of people that want that chance to win a national championship with a Region 2 team, and Cortland is one of a handful that are actually built to go on one of those runs. So I think we'll be learning some new names. We didn't get a chance to, at least I didn't get a chance to tell Coach B what my advice was to Coach Fitz when I ran into him right before the kickoff of the Stag Bowl. And it's just, you make things interesting for us, meaning us talking heads, like give us something good to talk about. And so I'll look forward to some good things coming out of Cortland, and it's going to, we'll know pretty much right out of the bat if they're for real, because that Grove City team is still returning a lot of guys. I mean, I know they've graduated a lot of talent too, but that's a top 10 caliber team. That's a great matchup, and whoever wins that game is going to be really poised for a big 25 season. And even the loser isn't necessarily out of it because they can still win their conference. So a lot of possibilities there. It's going to be a great way to start off the season for Region 2.
Now, on the other hand, St. John Fisher's had some struggles lately on the win-loss columns, and Ed Raby has done a great job maintaining and even improving some ways what Curt Fitzpatrick left him when he went to Cortland. Raby just a really up-and-coming young head coach, and his wife is a big fan of our show. Family guy for sure, and it's an interesting story to see, the elder statesman and Paul Vosburgh leave and a guy like Ed Raby come in as head coach. It wouldn't surprise me if he was maybe sniffing around for that Cortland job, but he ends up at this Fisher job, and I think there's a lot of excitement about him coming in. Let's talk with him right now. I mean, Coach, you couldn't have gotten it announced like 4 or 5 minutes earlier last week so that, we could have included you in the Tuesday show. I mean, incredible honor for you, obviously, to get named as the next head coach following Coach Vosburgh at St. John Fisher. Congratulations. But I'm going to ask you kind of what we asked Tom Blumenauer, but in a different way. He went from a private college to a state university. You're going from a state university to a private college as a head coach.
Right.
Tell us why. Why did you want to make this change ultimately?
Oh man, that's a loaded question in some ways. A variety of reasons. I felt I wasn't looking for a job necessarily. I love Morrisville. It's a place that my kids were born, and those kids, those players, I really, really love those players. So, but the Fisher job was something that, I mean, you just don't expect to come open. Vosburgh's been there forever. He obviously has a great legacy here. I consider Fisher one of the best jobs in the country. I think the blend of academics along with the athletic department and their commitment to wanting to be successful is a very unique blend. And I felt like it was a place, we know how good Fisher can be and has been. I felt like it was a place that our ceiling could be higher. And in my opinion, it was a special institution to be at. So it was one of those things that between that and getting closer to my wife's family and all that kind of stuff, it kind of just all came together at the right time. And again, you're not expecting Fisher to be an open job, but I do feel it's one of the best jobs in the country and can get back to the top of the Empire 8.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach, I think the last time we saw you was during the ECAC Bowl selection show, and we talked a little bit about it in the show following a 3-point victory for that ECAC trophy. If you could kind of summarize your run there at Morrisville, kind of starting from kind of the early beginnings, we're trying to build the program up to the stupid drama around the black turf, and all that kind of crazy things that happened there, to leaving out, a great final season with a post season bowl win. How would you kind of wrap all those years up in a few words?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fond memories. I mean, I want to thank Coach Fitz for giving me a chance to be his coordinator when I was 27 years old and kind of getting me involved in that program. And the foundation was strong when I took over. I felt like we were able to, we were able to have 2 7-win seasons in a 3-year span. And once we got things going, and the bowl really was a culmination for us. There's only one team in Morrisville history before that had won a bowl game. So to be able to accomplish something with the group of seniors, that was the first group that I actually was the head coach for the entire 4 years. To be able to do something special like that as a team was a great way to cap it off. And we had so many great moments in that bowl game where seniors that don't necessarily play a lot had to step up and make plays for us. So I'll always look back at Morrisville with fond memories. It's a great place. I still believe it's a great place. I just felt like the opportunity at Fisher was something I couldn't pass up.
Now in my mayor role here, to a certain degree, I get interesting perspective from high school student athletes looking at different schools. There's a punter / lineman from Ballston Spa High School, Aiden Ryan, who was interested in a bunch of schools in upstate New York. Fisher was one of them. And, to hear and watch, their interest level, he and his father especially, about, hey, Coach Vosburgh's leaving. What does that mean? Coach Raby's being named. What does that mean ultimately? This is a little late in the cycle still for the change. This makes recruiting a little tough for you in the first year. Coach Drock at Union, I was talking to him yesterday, and it's the same mentality. That first year when you don't get in early enough necessarily, it makes it a little bit tough on you. What are the challenges right now that you're going to be seeing for your first year? How did the assistants do during the transition process where Coach Vosburgh announced leaving back in November, I think it was, and now in February, here's Coach Raby being named?
Yeah, well, I think the staff here did a great job of putting in. The thing is, I've been through this as an assistant before when I was at Allegheny, when Matlack retired, and it was a little bit longer process to hire Coach Hammer. Once you get the head coach in place, things start to roll. I feel like we're in a good spot. We've had a good amount of commits over the last 2 weeks since being named the head coach. I think a lot of kids are waiting for that announcement. But once you visit Fisher, I mean, a lot of these kids, I mean, Fisher's a great place. It's a great school, very student-centered institution in terms of how they treat the students. It's a great education, and obviously the athletic facilities are very, very good. So the kids were already interested in the school. Once I was named, I think we've been able to build some momentum because it's not a matter of whether they like the school or not. They just want to make sure the leadership and what the vision is. So I think we're in a good spot. It's like you said, it's a little challenging, and most of our is going to be recruit. You know, so that's going to be the majority of the time that I spend over the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. And just out of curiosity, it doesn't look like you've released the 25 schedule yet, but last season Fisher opened up with Marietta out of the OAC. I don't know if that's a 1-and-1 kind of deal. That Keystone was on the slate. We're not really sure what the status of them is at the moment. So do you have a sense of when the schedule will be released? Obviously, the Empire 8 Liberty League scheduling getting back into the fold here helps out a lot for both conferences for obvious reasons. But anything you can shed light on there?
Yeah, so obviously we're adding Alfred State in the Empire 8, so that will be a new game. The crossover for Fisher, I believe, and again, I just got on campus yesterday, so I'm working on getting all this situated, but is St. Lawrence and Rochester. And then I believe we're playing FDU. I have to confirm that at FDU for week 1. So the schedule's in place. It's definitely going to have some new teams on it. And there's going to be a lot of new head coaches in the Empire 8. So it's going to be a kind of a fresh flavor for everyone this year. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Let's talk about some of this stuff. We talk about it a good deal on our Tuesday show that was released, and we'll talk about it a little bit in this show, obviously. But the youth movement, I mean, okay, you've been around for a few years now, obviously, but you're still a spring chicken as they come in the coaching ranks. Curt Fitzpatrick was a pretty young guy. Yeah, he went from Morrisville to Cortland, and I think he did some good things at Cortland from what I remember a little bit, now at Colgate. But, Tom Blumenauer, still a young guy now at Cortland. What is this youth movement, Coach? And what do you think the pros and the cons of, kind of the skew toward younger head coaches is right now, especially upstate New York? We were joking around that Kevin DeWall is kind of suddenly the dean of head coaches, it feels like, at Hobart, and he's still a young guy. It's kind of crazy around here what's going on with Division III head coaches, and especially Region 2. What's your take on this?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about it like that. Take on it. I mean, if you look at some of these coaches that have been coaching all the time, Coach Vaz was a head coach for a long time, and there's been a lot of guys like that. So I think a lot of it is just that generation getting to the point where they're ready to, retire and move on to different things. And so there's openings, and I think these schools maybe are looking for, I don't want to call it a jolt of energy because I've seen coaches that are been coached for a long time that got more energy than me. So I just think that it's kind of the nature of like the regular flow of things. I don't know if anyone's intentionally, at least from my perspective. At the end of the day, I think institutions are looking for great leaders. And if you can go into an interview process and talk about your vision and talk about how you're going to lead young men, they're going to do what they think is best for the institution. And so I think most institutions are just approaching it. Who is the best that we feel is going to help these programs successful, and they're not necessarily worrying about the age.
Makes sense. And Coach, I noticed you're wearing the new, black and red polo. Any chance we're going to see black turf on Groundy Stadium anytime soon, or is that just a Morrisville thing?
That's definitely just a Morrisville thing. I don't think we're not going to get into the black turf game over here at Fisher. I don't think so. No, we'll probably keep it the same. And honestly, that's not my decision. I kind of let the people above me do that kind of stuff. But I don't think we're going to see black turf anytime soon here.
I'm going to go back comparisons for a second for a specific reason. Again, Curt Fitzpatrick was, developing a family, on that transition from Morrisville to Cortland. You still, your wife, big fan of our show. Hi. Olivia, right?
Yes, yeah.
Olivia, we appreciate your fandom of our show, and you got a good guy here. But you know, making that transition, you alluded to getting close to her family locationally, which is nice of you. You know, not everybody wants to be closer to the in-laws, but it sounds like you're pulling that one off. But you know, what does that mean ultimately for you to be closer to perhaps the garbage plates of the world and everything else out in Fisher now? I mean, you know, elaborate on that, what it means locationally, and what, when you're looking to make a change in head coaching, you know, how that factors in for a guy like you right now.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to be in the Rochester area. It's a great place to raise a family. You know, and then again, a lot of the attraction that changed for me was what I think St. John Fisher can be. I was very impressed with the leadership here. And, you know, I just think it's a unique blend as a school, academically being a top 200 school, athletically being a place that's committed to excellence. I wanted to be around a place where everybody wanted to be great, you know, and not just the football program. So, Fisher was a place that already has a great culture. Like I said, Coach Voss has done a great job here, and it's a place that wants to be great at everything it does. So just getting closer to home, that's a special thing. Being in a place where I can raise my kids in the community, and then having a place that I think is committed to excellence, which as a coach, you want to be around that. You want to be around other people that want to be successful, and I think that's what makes Fisher such a special place.
I remember when we had our show with Coach Vosburgh, when he announced his retirement, he suggested he was going to try to be part of the process. Have you heard from him? Has he reached out to you? And how was the conversation with him?
Yeah, I've talked to Vaz on the phone several times. I met with him yesterday. So he's still around. He's going to be a Cardinal for life, no doubt about it. He's going to be somebody that we want to honor here and make sure that he stays, you know, relevant here, because I think he earned that, you know, as far as I'm concerned. And it's definitely, he's going to be a huge help with the alumni. This is a place, you know, the alumni are very passionate about St. John Fisher football. And so, you know, having him around to help me kind of figure out the place and figure out some of these alumni and their names and getting to know them, he's still going to be a big part of the program. So, yeah, we've talked quite a bit.
That's great. Well, I know that we're still, you know, months away from the regular season getting, you know, going. But as you said, you know, you've got recruiting to get to, all this. I mean, I just pulled up the release of, you know, the announcement of your departure from Morrisville. Obviously, your former AD, Matt, I think it's Garrock is going to lead a search. Is there a couple of your guys there that are in the running, or someone you'd like to see take over SUNY Morrisville program? Obviously, you don't get a vote on that, but just out of curiosity, if there was a candidate you'd endorse, who would that might be?
I'm not going to openly endorse a candidate, but I was able to sit down with Matt and have a conversation about what I thought would be best for the program, for sure. Morrisville is a very talented team still, and you know, if they get the right leader in place, that's going to be a team that is always competing with everybody. So I definitely voiced my opinion on what I thought the direction should be in terms of more so like the type of person to lead Morrisville. But like you said, it's not at this point, that's not my problem anymore, and I kind of have to just let it go. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm sure they're going to make a great choice with what's you know, on the table over there, and we look forward to seeing what their choice is. Although, again, late in the game, but I knowing you had your recruiting moving along as well over there, so I'm sure somebody's going to be left with a good amount of good stuff, you know, despite your departure. I want to give you an opportunity. We did this with Coach Bloom earlier, but you know, you got two fan bases out there. We will let you send messages to the Morrisville family and to the St. John Fisher family at this point. Obviously, people at Morrisville, sad to see you go. People at Fisher want to get to know you, but I think there's excitement because of what you brought to Morrisville, and thinking again about, you know, watching a guy like Fitzpatrick go from Morrisville to Cortland, do what he did. Maybe there's the same magic in Ed Raby's genes, you know, going over to Fisher, and why not? Fisher, a program that's been seen even the semifinals back when I got to call that game out at Mount Union a long time ago. So I do remember the greatness that Fisher can possess. But Coach, your messages to the two fan bases.
Yeah, it's a Morrisville. I mean, I love you guys, and it was a pretty emotional week last week, saying goodbye to those players and the families. But you never everything in football, and I know several coaches talk about this. It always takes a team, right? And the success we had at Morrisville, a group effort. The players, the coaches, everybody was involved, and it's what allows people like myself to have opportunities. I do want to thank Coach Fitzpatrick again. I never want to forget the fact that he gave me a chance at 27 to be a coordinator and ended up leading to me being a head coach, which is a dream job for me. So I thank everybody at Morrisville for everything they've done, and they're always going to be a special place in my heart for that place. For Fisher, I'm excited. I'm excited to get back to this place and help this place become great again. And it's already still in many ways. And I'm going to promise the Fisher family this. I'm going to put my heart and soul into this program and making it the best version that it can be every single day. So I'm really excited to see people out in the stands and get this thing rolling.
We believe in you. That's for darn sure. We've gotten to know you over the years, and we appreciate the energy. We appreciate, like I said, the family feel that you have brought to the table. Yeah. And I think the Fisher family is going to actually be a great fit in that respect for you and for them as well. So we look forward to it. You're going to see me at some point when I need a garbage plate or two. Brockport's not the only school near the garbage plates. St. John Fisher will be good to see you guys out there. And who knows, maybe it will be the Fisher Brockport game or something like that I'm out there for. Relevance is going to be the important part when you start. And Fisher hasn't been very relevant in the Empire 8 for the last few years. I don't think I'm saying anything that's, downing them, but it's a reality, and here's a chance here to bring back relevance to a program that should be relevant, I think, in the Empire 8. Coach, best of luck. Congratulations again. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for everything you do.
And thanks to Coach Raby for joining us. And, I asked you about the possible drop-off scenario when it comes to Cortland and their change because of, a loss of a lot of graduates. Yes, late in the ball game, too, this transition or change at St. John Fisher. But are you kind of excited about what this presents to maybe get Fisher back on the map here? Because they play a pretty good schedule year to year. That was Coach Vosburgh's MO when it came down to it. And now with the Liberty League crossover back, that's going to be an important aspect of it. But, do you see an upward trajectory coming up here for St. John Fisher?
I do. I think, with all due respect to Coach Vosburgh, my kids call me a boomer all the time. The recruiting game with technology, Huddle, the edits, the TikToks, everything. It is turning into a more, fast-paced sales cycle, I guess you could say, and it is a little more of a young man's game. So I think that Coach Raby, being a younger guy, can relate to these student athletes and kind of the world that they're living in, and he may have some ideas to better leverage things like the Bills training camp at St. John Fisher and kind of build some events around that, or recruiting and stuff that wouldn't necessarily occur to older guys like me or Coach Voss. There's just you can live stream, you can Instagram, you can Facebook Live, all this stuff that's just out there that these kids are interested in. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the school gives him the opportunities and resources that he needs, because at the end of the day, a head football coach's best friend is the college president and the AD, kind of saying, hey, let's give you what you need in order to build a program. So I think Fisher certainly might have some growing pains in year 1 and 2, but give him time and some resources. And Coach Raby's proven he's a winner. He just won the last ECAC Bowl. It was very exciting. Took his team to the postseason a few times, and built the Mustangs from kind of a doormat in the Empire 8 to a contender and a bowl champion. So he's got the track record to do it. and I'll be looking forward to seeing how he fares with the Cardinals.
Well, one thing I hope they don't do is turn the turf into cardinal red like the black turf of Morrisville. That would probably be not the best move ultimately.
Yeah, killed so many people. It was such a health hazard. Oh my gosh.
Well, I was just talking about the aesthetics. I mean, black turf was actually bad aesthetically. Red turf, I'm not sure I could handle that for too long. But anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. Again, sorry for kind of spitting out 2 shows at once, but we wanted to stay current with the coaching changes that were occurring, especially the big announcements. And we will keep you updated on Twitter throughout the next months. And when Merritt's doing a show, we'll do a show at some point. But in the meantime, have a great off season, and we will talk to you all soon.